Caitlin Clark will miss fifth straight game with nagging left groin injury in Indianapolis. The Indiana Fever will be without their two-time All-Star Caitlin Clark for Saturday's matchup against the Los Angeles Sparks. This will be Clark's fifth straight game missed due to a left groin injury. Head coach Stephanie White addressed the superstar's status after practice Friday. I think the biggest thing is she's stated she's not a big fan of minutes restrictions. White said, if there is a minutes restriction, maybe we'll hold her another game. It's evaluating her again in the morning, seeing what she's done with however many days there have been of more loading, and make a decision from there. But again, I prioritize the long term. Her long-term health and wellness and making sure that when she comes back, she's 100%. The arena lights still burned bright in downtown Indianapolis, casting long shadows across the empty hardwood. The game had ended over an hour ago, but echoes lingered. The rhythmic stomp of sneakers, the roar of the crowd, and the silence that always seemed louder when Caitlin Clark wasn't playing. This was her fifth straight game out with the same stubborn injury, left groin strain. Minor, they said at first, day to day, but each day passed like a drip from a leaky faucet, wearing down both fans and teammates alike. Inside the Fever's locker room, Caitlin sat quietly in her hoodie, her leg wrapped in ice, a familiar dull ache pulsing in her groin. Reporters weren't allowed in yet, so she had the room to herself, the calm after the storm. She hated this. Not just the pain, the waiting, the watching, the pretending, the way her body had betrayed her at the very moment it felt like the world was finally catching up to her talent. The WNBA had embraced her with fervor and frenzy, placing her face on billboards, her highlights on every screen, her name on every tongue. And now, silence. Well, not total silence. There was still the critics, overhyped, can't handle the pro game, she's just a shooter. But Caitlin had long stopped scrolling too deep into the comments. Still, it was hard not to feel the weight of the spotlight when it flickered. The door creaked open. Nalissa Smith poked her head in. You good? Caitlin gave a half smile. Define good. Nalissa stepped in, tossing her jersey in the laundry bin. We got the win, barely, but damn, I miss your chaos out there. Caitlin chuckled, wincing slightly as she shifted. I miss my chaos too. Doc says maybe another week? Maybe, Caitlin said, her tone flat. Or maybe the groin just has a personal vendetta. Alyssa leaned against the locker. You ever think this is the game telling you to slow down? Caitlin raised an eyebrow. I'm 23. I didn't even know slow was an option. They both laughed, but it faded quickly. There was truth to that. Caitlin had been running full sped since high school, maybe longer. Records, accolades, Olympics talk, GMs fighting for her draft rights. And now, injury. She glanced at her phone, a message from her dad. Proud of you no matter what. Be smart. Another from an old Iowa teammate. Rest now. The real season's coming. But what was rest when your whole identity had been motion? Her jump shot didn't sleep. Her instincts didn't pause. The court was still calling her name and she had to answer it by watching from the sidelines. Legs crossed in street clothes, hiding the limp. Outside, the fans still lingered, chanting her name even though she hadn't played a minute. That both lifted and crushed her. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Caitlin sat with her notebook. Not a planner, not a journal. This was her mind court, the place she scribbled plays, thoughts, fragments of poetry, quotes that stuck with her. She flipped to a clean page. July 5th, 5 games out. 5 too many, she tapped her pen. You only know how much you love the game when it stops letting you play. She underlined it twice. The city outside pulsed with post-game energy, but Caitlin's world was still. She closed her eyes and imagined the familiar rhythm of the ball in her hand. The way defenders leaned the moment she rose up for three, that tiny flick of her wrist. The crowd gasping before it even dropped. She missed the feeling of the ball being an extension of her body. These days, her body felt foreign, stubborn, fragile, and that scared her more than any opponent ever had. But there was also a strange beauty in this pause. It forced her to listen to her body, to her limits, to her future. She knew she'd be back, stronger, smarter. The question wasn't if, only when. The next morning, the team gathered for film review. Caitlin sat front row, pen in hand, as Coach Danieli poised the clip. You see the lane here? That's a Caitlin cut. When she's back, we attack that space hard. The team nodded. Even in the absence, her game was present. And for the first time in a week, Caitlin didn't just feel like a ghost in her own story. She was still the narrative. still part of the plot. She leaned toward her assistant coach during a break. When I'm cleared, I want to come back smart, not just hungry. He nodded. That's how careers last. Caitlin smiled. The injury still throbbed, the headlines still spun, and the world still waited. But inside, a shift had begun. She was learning to be still, and in that stillness, a different kind of power was growing.